I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're talking about an amazing book. It is called Eyewitness O.J. Simpson, How It Really Happened. It is written by Christina Wolford. From the streets of Olympia, Washington to the bustling scenes of Brentwood, California, Christine Wolford has experienced a roller coaster of life events. Not only was she an innovator in the real estate world, but she also found herself at the crossroads of one of America's most gripping murder trials. We're delighted to have her join us here today on Spotlight, and we ask viewers like you to support writers like her by subscribing to our channel. Christina, thanks so much for being our guest today on Spotlight.
Thank you for having me, Logan.
Let's turn back the hands of time and look at the O.J. Simpson trial once again. How did you happen to be a witness, and what's this all about?
Okay, so that night, I was just putting my son down, and I heard a really loud noise coming down the road. My condo that I owned was on the corner of Bundy and Montana, and I was a block and a half away from Nicole. So I ran out onto my balcony, and this white Bronco slams on the brakes, does a 180, and looks directly up at me. So I'm looking at a white Bronco, black man, beanie on, and he looked really familiar. He went straight back down to Nicole's. It was such an impact that I really felt like something really bad had just happened. That morning I found out what I saw. Logan, I had no idea what to do. I have a single mom. I'm in a great career, and it put me in a scared straight mode.
Yeah.
I really didn't know what to do, so I didn't do anything. About 5 weeks later, they staged the same event. So there's a convertible, did the same thing. He went down the road. I heard a loud noise. I ran out. He did a 180 right in front of me, looked up at me just like OJ did. So I had a feeling that they were looking for me, and that was probably a PI. Half an hour later, there was a knock on my door. Now, I have a security building, so I really didn't even think it was him because you have to get in, but it was. So I opened the door. He pushed the door open and walked around me onto my balcony. He couldn't get there fast enough because he wanted to see what I saw. So he stood there really quiet for a moment, and he turns around and he starts screaming at me, "You saw OJ Simpson, didn't you? Didn't you?" And I was like, I started crying. I told him that he had to leave and that I didn't know. Right. So immediately I called Van Adder and Lang. They were the detectives at the time. They came out. I showed them everything. I told them everything. And I asked for as less press as possible. And I needed security because obviously they were following me every minute of the day. And they said, "Oh, Christina, well, we can't use you. It'd be all about the pretty eyewitness," and really left me in harm's way.
Amazing. So they basically, investigators told you we couldn't use you because of your appearance, and that it would be distracting. So your testimony ended there?
Yes.
Amazing. Yeah.
As they followed me every day.
Yeah.
You know, I was watched 24/7. I would go over to my friend's house, and our kids, they were like family. So I would stay for a few days, and the security guard would always call the owner and say, "You know, that car follows your friend here and doesn't leave until she does." And this went on for 4 years.
Amazing. So for 4 years, people were monitoring you.
Yes.
To see what you might have to say about the murder trial. So like the rest of us, I'm sure you were glued to the murder trial.
No.
You weren't.
Logan, I couldn't watch it because of who I am. I just couldn't watch it.
Yeah.
I actually called them up when the glove scene came up, and I said, "Look, you know what? I'll testify." And they said, "Oh, well, we told them you weren't credible."
Crazy.
Yeah, that was not okay.
Do you think in part they were trying to cut him loose?
I have to say yes.
Yeah.
I can't lie. I just got the feeling that they didn't want to know who I was.
Right.
They weren't going to let me testify. And oh my gosh, the first day of the trial, I'm driving down the road. I'm in Beverly Hills, and my dad calls me up and says, Chick, please tell me you are not a witness on OJ Simpson's defense list. And so then I was really shocked, because that's how I found out.
Right.
And so then I told my dad, because I didn't tell my mom and dad. I really didn't tell anybody. It was a very scary time.
Yeah.
For me. Yeah, I had my guard up. I was in survival mode, if you will. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you had a killer looking right at you
Every day.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's frightening, and you saw what he was capable of, at least in hindsight. And you saw him that night, you realized something was wrong. The next day you woke up to a murder scene. So
right.
it's all
and I do believe that the reason why he did that was because as soon as he hit the lights of the intersection, he saw his glove missing.
Yeah.
So he slammed on the brakes, does a 180, goes back down to her house. And there was also a scene where they could not put the dogs barking to the murder. There was a 10-minute window. That was the screeching tires when he did the 180.
Gotcha.
That's what set the dogs off.
Amazing. Amazing.
So,
amazing that your story was never brought to light until you brought it to light in your book. I understand now there's a film being made on your experiences as well. Tell us about that.
Yes, so this is so exciting. Dr. Alex Smith from Reagan Ghostwriters, really without him, I couldn't have done this. They were really amazing. They helped me put the book together in every aspect. And also about 3 weeks ago, I got a call from him. And he said, Christina, we've got producers calling us. They want to do a feature film.
Wow.
And, they want to make an appointment and have a meeting with the producer. So we had a great dialogue about it for like an hour and a half. They decided they immediately wanted to do the treatment, even with the writer's strike. So they immediately started writing. Wow. We're about 3 weeks into it. And they're very motivated to get it done. So I think the treatment should be done in about 3 more weeks. The producer wants to do it in the United States and also put it in every language and get it around the world.
Wonderful. Well, it's very exciting. It's good that your story is finally being told in your book, and perhaps now in movie form as well. Did you know Nicole Brown Simpson prior to this? You guys were kind of neighbors.
Yeah, I used to see her walking, because I would walk my son in the morning and she would walk her dog. So we were like the neighbor friendly, hi, good morning, pass by, but I didn't know her personally, although we would see each other very often in the mornings.
Had you ever seen OJ Simpson before that night?
No.
Yeah.
Never.
Amazing. And when you heard the verdict that he was not guilty, what went through your head? What went through your mind?
That I was still in harm's way. I mean, I'm just being really honest. Why were they going to leave me alone? Right.
Right.
And when you're followed, you are, when after a period of time, you get how they watch you and stuff. So I knew that they were still watching me. I believe it kind of tamed down after a few more years. Although in my book, as you'll see, I did reach out to the Inquirer, and Larry was the man who did all the stories on it. So he was really excited. He did all his due diligence. They made me a great offer. This was in 2015. And he said to me, Christina, I'm going to fly in tomorrow. We're going to do this. It's going to be great. And he said, I can just see the headlines, Eyewitness, OJ Simpson. And we talked about starting at Mezzaluna, or where we were going to start. And I got a call from him about 4 hours later. And he says, well, Christina, you know the PI that came to your door for the Kardashians? And I said, yes. And he said, well, he lives in the same building that I do in Florida, and they don't want me to do the story because OJ's going to be getting out in 2017 because he was in jail at the time. And so they stopped that. And then they started obviously watching me again. And Larry did say, and I would, you know, kind of threatened me and said, when he gets out, he's probably going to be looking for you.
Frightening, frightening. Well, we're glad you did survive this ordeal. We're glad there was no retribution taken against you. You've written an amazing book. It is called Eyewitness O.J. Simpson, How It Really Happened. It is written by Christina Wolford. Her story was never told because the investigators turned a deaf ear to her story. But now she has put her story down on paper for you to read, for you to understand, for you to have new perspective on this crime of the century. Let's call it for what it really is. And perhaps soon it'll be out in a movie theater near you as well. Christina, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you, Logan. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. And to the folks at home, go ahead.
You can get my book on Amazon, and in a few weeks it will be on Barnes & Noble.
Well, we're glad you're okay. Stay safe. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.
You got it.